Alright, just a quick review over AR verbs. Some of us still having trouble with pronouns, which we have to go back to. We have to learn pronouns in order to do verbs. So anytime you see the yo form, you are always going to see an O at the end of that word. So if you remember from the beginning of the semester that I told you to just start memorizing phrases, you ask somebody, ¿Cómo te llamas? AS at the end. You're asking two. How did you answer it? Me llamo. With an O at the end. So, you started noticing those things. Now you should know why they were that they were. So, I want you to tell me what these mean. What is hablo? Okay, not to talk or speak. That would be hablar. What is hablo? I talk or speak. Okay. What is necesito? Good. What is miro? I look at or watch. Good. What is compro? I buy. So keep in mind always who is doing the action. So I, in this case, buy. And that's why you don't need any of your, well, not any of them, but you don't always need your subject pronouns in front of the verbs because the ending of the verb already tells you who's doing the action. Okay? All right, so busco, I look for. And don't confuse buscar with to look at. So to look at, mirar, to look for, buscar. Okay, what is llevo? I wear. What else could it be? I carry or I bring. Okay, so three different meanings. And trabajo? I work. Also happens to be just coincidence that it is the noun for work as well. So if you happen to see it in a different context, it can be the noun. And then you obviously would be able to tell by context clues if it's the noun for work or if it's the verb for I work. Okay? If you're talking about the to form, you're always talking about, remember there's 5 U's in Spanish. There's singular, plural, formal, informal, so there's lots of things to deal with that we don't have for in English. So the U will always end in what? The verbs that agree with the U form, you is doing it, will always end in es. Anything for él, ella, or usted, talking about one person, all of those, or anything that doesn't fit in yo or you, yo or tu, the informal you, will always end in a. Okay. Please make sure you're looking at your notes. We reviewed your pronouns. Your pronouns should be understood that they are now part of the conjugation box. You should just be able to tell me what the conjugation box is. And we should know the meanings of our pronouns as well, which we have in our notes. But what should we just have to remember? This middle part right here. What is the conjugation, the ending that you make agree with the yo form for AR verbs? Oh, what is it for the to form? What is it for the el, ella, usted form or anything singular? What is it for nosotros or anybody in I? And we don't have to worry about vosotros. We decided not to make you responsible for that one. And then anything else that's plural that doesn't include myself or we would be an. Okay. So you've got to know that to be able to conjugate your verbs correctly. So how do we conjugate? What's an infinitive form of a verb? Ends with AR. It's the original form. It's the unconjugated form that means to, whatever the verb is. To speak, to need, to look at. What do you do to conjugate? Take away that AR. You're taking away that ending. Okay? Then what do? You are left over with the stem, and then you add your endings to make it agree with the subject, who is doing the action. So these are your singular endings, your plural endings, but we like to put it in the box like we had in our notes. What happens when you have 2 verbs in a row? Conjugate the first verb. Don't conjugate the second verb. So the second verb stays in its infinitive form, the unconjugated form. The example here is using the verb to like. We're going to talk more about this verb later. But the first example, me gusta hablar por teléfono. I like to talk on the phone. So I like, and then to talk, not conjugated. I'm not actually talking. You're just making the first verb agree with the subject. Second verb stays in its infinitive form or unconjugated. All right, quick practice. What's this one? Hablo, good. Hablas, good. Habla, good. Habla, one singular person. I'm sorry, hablan, for plural. Sorry, I didn't see the S there. Necesito. Necesitas. Necesitan, good. Necesita. Compramos. Anybody an I? The we form. Compras. Compra. Compran. Good. And remember that on that plural box you have ellos, ellas, which both mean they. You also have ustedes, which is you all, which is where this would fall in. Since we're not using vosotros, we're substituting it with ustedes, but it happens to fall in the same plural box. So still an at the end. Look at it carefully. What's your subject? So, you and I and you doesn't make a difference in Spanish. You can put it in either way. Don't just look at the y2. Look at the I am included with you. So, we are included together. So, it's the we form hablamos. Miro. Necesitas. Buscas. Compran. Good. Lleva. Good. Lleva again. Llevas. Good. Llevo. Llevamos. The no doesn't make a difference there. The no just makes it a negative sentence. We don't wear a hat today. Trabajo. Ellas. Trabajas. Good. Trabaja. Trabaja. And just to recap, an infinitive verb is the unconjugated form, the original, ends in AR. What you do to conjugate? What does conjugating mean? If I ask you conjugate, what does that mean? Right. So the verb agrees with who's doing it, which is usually the subject of the sentence. How do you do it? Take away the AR, add your endings. These are your singular endings. These are your plural endings. But I like to look at them all together. Just so you know, some of the books and some of the extra documents that I've given you on Modo give you examples like this. They just have it in a column. I like to look at it side by side, like this other example from this book. So you have the singular on the left, the plural on the right. That's why we learned our pronouns that way. But again, you have it on your notes that way. And so you should know already that your middle part, how you conjugate your verbs, is already implied. You shouldn't have to always put this on the side. You already know that that's what goes with it. Okay. Questions?